Yes, sir.
I'm here with Michael Denehey of Chatabrewchee Southern Brewhouse. Can you tell me a little bit of the history of Chatabrewchee?
Sure. I started homebrewing about 12 years ago, and I really fell in love with the history, the craftsmanship, and just the art of brewing beer. And it just really captivated me. And one of the ironies of it is I actually don't drink anymore. I did it one time, obviously. And when I got into the industry, I actually don't drink. And it's been a couple of years. I do sample my beer. I still love the art of brewing. I still love the craftsmanship. And most importantly, I love my interface with the customer. It no kidding, is what gets me out of bed in the morning. And Kathy is an active duty major in the Army.
Okay.
We're the only brewery in America owned by an active duty woman. Fun little fact. I'm a retired lieutenant colonel. And, it's just service is part of just who we are and what we do. And it's kind of ingrained in our DNA. And we kind of see the brewery as an opportunity to continue serving the community by giving it something just a little bit more, little bit of spark, and having a small customer focused, direct customer interface focused brewery is kind of how I continue to serve my community.
Oh,
And that's what we want to be.
awesome. You guys recently moved from West Point too, correct?
We did. We started in West Point. We opened up in the summer of 2017 in West Point, Georgia. Beautiful location, beautiful town. But at the end of the day, what we saw was this larger community of Columbus, Georgia, which didn't have something like us.
Mm-hmm.
They do have a brewery. We're very, very clear every time we speak publicly. The folks at Cannon Brew Pub have been here for the better part of a quarter century. They deserve their place in Georgia beer history, and we work hand in glove with them. Let me be very, very clear. We're great neighbors and we're great friends, but we're more of small batch, constant rotation, tap room centric,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a little bit of more of a brew pub model, and we complement each other very well. So we saw that opportunity to move into Columbus. Us being military folks, and Columbus, Fort Benning being a military community, it was a natural fit for us. Our time at West Point was great. We loved being open in Troup County. We really enjoyed it. But we had that opportunity to kind of improve our bottom line. And really, at the end of the day, that's kind of what you have to be in business for. I mean, we did need to turn a profit, and we saw that opportunity in Columbus, Fort Benning. It's been a great move. We've been here for going on a year now. It's been 9 months, and we love our customers. And what's really great is we see quite a few of our West Point diehards. They still come out and join us, and so that's been very rewarding.
Yeah, Columbus is just a hop, skip, and a jump away.
It's not far. It's really not that far.
Okay. So the theme of this episode is going to be hand sanitizer. So what is the decision? There's a history behind your decision to make hand sanitizer. So
Sure.
What is that?
The government stepped in and said that they had all of these folks who were qualified to handle alcohol, and they were going to lift regulations and allow us to make hand sanitizer. And so they rapidly approved our industrial alcohol permit. They allowed us to start purchasing the ingredients. And boy, we saw from day one that the demand for that product far exceeds the number of producers in the market for it. It was an opportunity, quite frankly, to continue serving our customers. Our beer sales obviously dipped down. Everybody in the food and beverage industry today is operating at a fraction of what they did prior to the shutdown. And there's just nothing you can do. That's the bottom line. The government stepped in and said, no customers allowed. We were allowed, or are allowed, to continue doing cans to go, and those sales have been robust. However, cans to go is still a fraction of your normal Saturday night when you have 100 people wall to wall, all drinking 2, 3, 4 beers.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just not the same. And this was an opportunity for me to keep jobs in place, continue serving the community, and providing a product that my customer still wanted. So it was a win for us in order to continue staying viable as a business. Oh my God, I don't know how many tens, if not hundreds of thousands of businesses are going to be forced to close by the end of this. And thankfully, there was an opportunity there for us to kind of step up and say, we'll make the short-term sacrifices to retool and renegotiate the new business landscape. And so far, it's been a success.
So was there a lot of retooling involved? What's the process for making hand sanitizer?
Fortunately, in the brewing industry, there wasn't a lot of retooling. We didn't have to invest in much in the way of new equipment. What we did have to do was kind of segregate equipment that we'd already had, because what we don't do is we don't cross lines. We don't have equipment that's set aside for brewing and mix that in with the hand sanitizer. So once hand sanitizer touches any of our equipment, that's it. That's what it's designated for.
Okay.
So we did have to cut some of the herd off a little bit, but we already had the tanks, we already had the spoons, we already had the hoses, etc.
Okay.
We needed to do some of the research, and the FDA made it very simple. They've been publishing information on here's how you make hand sanitizer. Really, the recent publication was, okay, guys, we'll let you do it, but you have to follow this exact recipe. And I don't have the exact recipe. I mean, it's in millimeter or
Yeah, I gotcha.
milliliters, decimal points of gallons. So I don't have that off the top of my head, but it's essentially 4 ingredients.
Okay.
Distilled water, hydrogen peroxide, glycerin, and alcohol. And it is a matter of blending them in the correct proportions safely, in the correct volumes. What I would say is I'm actually at the brewery right now. I stepped away to conduct this podcast, and I see a line of people in a literal sense out the door. Social distancing, of course, but the demand is through the roof. I personally traveled 400 miles in my personally owned vehicle yesterday to go collect up a little bit of alcohol here, a little bit of alcohol there, in order to keep up with demand. I mean, that's where the market's at. So it's it's a busy time. We're actually busier now than we were prior to the shutdown. And we're just thankful that, one, we can keep our employees employed, and two, we can provide what is very clearly a very high demand product for the customers in our community.
Well, that answers my next question of, can someone off the street buy hand sanitizer? So the answer is yes.
Yes, they can. There was actually because our first batch of customers essentially were the first responders. We had the K9 unit from the Columbus Police Department, the County Sheriff's Office, the City of Columbus, EMS crews. They were all lining up. Obviously, they would have an exceptionally high demand. So there was actually a misconception that we were only serving those first responders, but we are open to the general public. Demand does exceed our capacity at the moment, but we have more of the raw materials coming in, but we're open 7 days a week, and as long as we have it in stock, we have no problem selling to it. Our demand has dictated that we do limit it to 1 gallon for a household and 2 gallons for a business. We just we just can't continue serving the public and accept orders for 50 gallons. And trust me, it breaks my heart as a business owner, but I have to do what's right for the community. I have turned down orders of 50, 100, even as high as 150 gallons at a time, until our logistics chain catches up and we can pretty reliably produce several hundred gallons a week. Until that happens, and it will shortly, we just can't take orders that size. But that's it's a problem for the community. That demand is out there, and we are actively assisting every brewery we know here in our local area to get them tooled up for this. There's there's plenty of demand for everybody. And we're trying to help our community by helping those other businesses get up and running too. One of the great parts about being able to produce hand sanitizer is our ability to give back to the community. And we work with an organization called the Children's Tree. And the Children's Tree is a shelter, it's a home for abused and neglected children. And I would say to your listeners, everybody has it rough right now. I get that. Very few people have it really well. But imagine if you were a homeless child going through this at the same time. So one of the things that we're able to do with this program, we work with an organization called Californialations here in Columbus, and they're a large philanthropic company. They have big hearts, and so they work directly with us, and we provide Children's Tree. We provide roughly 300 neglected and homeless children all throughout Georgia, not just in Columbus, but all throughout Georgia. In fact, there's a home in LaGrange that we recently donated 5 gallons to. So our ability to use this high demand product, turn a little bit of a profit, but then turn around and use some of that to make a donation to 300 homeless kids. I mean, man, just stop and think for a second. What if you were one of those kids? And so it is great. It feels great for us to be able to do that for these 300 abused and neglected children. It's the least we could do to try to help out our neighbors, because everybody has it rough right now. Very few people have it rougher than those kids.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's an awesome opportunity, and it was an easy yes for us. So we're happy to do it. And on Tuesday, I think we donate another 10 gallons to the Children's Tree, and I'll be sure to include some of that information and make sure you get some pictures and stuff like that.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. And you're still producing beer, correct?
We are. Lest we forget that, we are producing beer. We're producing pretty damn good beer, if I say so myself. Every year that we've been in production so far, we've been voted one of the top 10 breweries in Georgia with award-winning beers. We have a 10 tap room. We do serve cans to go still. And the Columbus, Fort Benning area has been very, very active in their support to us. Let me read off the tap list here. We just added the Jefferson's Golden Ale.
Okay.
That's a belt. That's actually a Thomas Jefferson's old Golden Ale recipe. So we did some research. Yeah, really, really cool. We did some research. We found Washington's Porter recipe and Thomas Jefferson's Golden Ale recipe, and we have both of those on tap right now. So that's really cool.
Do you serve them warm to be fitting with the time?
We should. It's really funny you would say that. That was one of the things we were looking at doing, is having for real. We were looking at having a cooler off to the side with its own tap system that was set to say 55 degrees. And we were going to have basically old world English style beers, lower in carbonation, actually pretty low in carbonation, and served at quote unquote cellar temperature. So you kind of read my mind on that one. That was something we were interested in looking at.
I'm a home brewer too, so yeah.
Oh, nice.
Continue with the tap list, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Our Backwater Blonde, light and grainy, that goes along with our Kolsch, which is a lager style beer. Both of those are lighter and grainy, fuller in body than your average Budweiser, but certainly great sellers because, hey, it's summertime. Our Pineapple Hefeweizen, that thing has been an absolute slam dunk. Doug, our brewmaster, he is a phenomenal brewer. He pays attention to his water, his pH, and his ingredients.
A pineapple wheat beer sounds delicious right about now.
It really is delicious, particularly on a day like today. So it's our base recipe Hefeweizen, which he follows up. He'll rotate it between raspberry, blueberry, strawberry. Pineapple seems to be like the fan favorite right now. Our Ale 706 Now, what's interesting is we have an Ale 334 for the Alabama side of the border, and then we have an Ale 706 for the Georgia side of the border. And what that is you remember Sierra Nevada Pale Ale? I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale like beer. And
Okay.
what we saw was a lot of the customers wanted to have something other than the Skull Splitter IPA. Hey, can we bring something back from the 90s? That's what we saw in the market as far as the demand. So we filled it with that specific niche, and it's gone over exceptionally well. It's a great beer flavored beer. It is just the bottom line. And I think we've kind of gone away from that a little bit. So I talked about the porter, Washington's Porter, Jefferson's Golden. We have the Deep Thoughts Amber. And that amber ale has been it's a malty, caramelly type beer, and that's been with us the whole time. So we started brewing that 3 years ago when we opened, and that's been pretty much on tap the whole time. Our River Dragon Red, the River Dragons are the hockey team here in Columbus, Georgia. We're their sponsors, and I am a huge hockey fan. So we sponsor them, and we're their official beer. We're also the official beer of the Columbus Lions, their football team. Unfortunately,
Okay.
One season was delayed, the Lions, and another season was cut short, the River Dragons. And then our 9-line double IPA. Now, this is a special and unique beer. The 9-line double IPA is a double IPA. It's 9.9% alcohol. It's 99 IBUs. 9-line is owned by a friend that is a company in Savannah, Georgia. They're a very massive apparel company, a veteran-owned company just like ours. And a good friend of mine by the name of Tyler Merritt owns that company. And long story short, we reached out to them. They reached out to us. They wanted to do our apparel. We wanted to do their beer. It became a peanut butter and chocolate thing. It just worked out great. The proceeds from that beer actually go to the 9-Line Foundation. Bottom line is we take homeless veterans off the street and we put them in houses with that beer. So that beer was one of the top 10 double IPAs in the state of Georgia for 2019. So not only is it a pretty damn good beer, but it's also a pretty damn good cause that it supports. So the 9-Line double IPA, phenomenal beer, and it supports a phenomenal cause. That's probably the beer I'm most proud of all the 10 that we have on tap right now.
That's outstanding.
Yeah. Now, some breweries have more beers on tap. We know that 10 is small for a tap room, and that's what we want. And the reason why is we don't like brewing massive batches at a time. We want to continue staying 2 to 4 barrels at each one of our brew days. That's pretty small in the professional industry. But going back quite a bit, when we started this interview, we see success as direct interface with the customer. We essentially don't distribute very much at all these days, because our focus has become, we want to look directly at our customer and open a conversation with them. That's what we do. I don't drink, and people say, well, why would you be in the brewing industry if you don't drink? The brewing industry is the people industry. It just is. So you don't have to drink to be in the beer industry. You just have to like people, and I do. And so that's where we see success. So I know that's a little bit of a tangent, but that's just who we are and what we do. That's why we keep the tap list small, because we would rather go through numerous small batches than have gigantic quantities on hand that sit in a warehouse for 2 months before they get served. Our beers go from one end of the building to the other same day, and they usually run out pretty damn quick. We're normally tapping 2 to 3 new beers every single week. So that to us is success.
Well, that's awesome, Michael.
Yeah, it is actually. It's a lot of fun.
Well, it sounds like y'all are busy down there.
We are. We are busy. And unfortunately, obviously, we had a spring festival. That date has come and gone, and we were going to be out in the parking lot all day, but we're still busy compounding hand sanitizer and serving our community that way. And believe it or not, we're still slinging a lot of beer. Folks are showing up; they're asking for cans or bottles to go, and we're happy to fill those needs too. So whether it's alcohol for the outside or alcohol for the inside, we've got you covered.
Well, we'll end on that note. Save one of those 9 lines for
I
me.
will. I'll put your name on it. Set it aside, man.
Okay. Well, this has been Michael Denehey with Chatabrewchee Southern Brewhouse, correct?
That is it.
Awesome. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate it.